Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. Today, as promised, taking a look at some post-June 1st free agency targets. The Cowboys have freed up about 4x, give or take, on how you went around, salary cap space after the Michael Gallup $9.5 million in savings became official after June 1st. That was the designation. Had to carry that money on through June 1st. Now it becomes available to spend on several open roster spots the Cowboys have at this time. This is a team that loves to claim that player acquisition is a 365-day business for them. Okay, prove it, because you have several open roster spots and holes that still need to be filled. So prediction time. Will the Cowboys sign anyone before training camp? 1 for yeah, they'll add somebody. 0 for no, they will not. We'll spend a bit more time on, I think, one of the more notable names with obvious ties to Dallas. That's Stephon Gilmore. He is unsigned. He has, both sides have kind of left the door open to a potential reunion, and as long as he goes unsigned, the chance remains, no matter how big or small it ends up being. I think Gilmore's age, coming off the shoulder injury, and a generally slow cornerback market overall this offseason are all factors in why he is unsigned. I would be surprised if we got a month and a half from now when training camp gets going and Gilmore isn't signed somewhere. Of all the spots on this roster from last season to this year, where it made the most sense to just go, let's just run it back, wasn't it corner? Because you got Diggs, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis, Stephon Gilmore in there too. It's a really good quad. It's a really good grouping of corners that helps prevent you in the event of injuries. Now you have some intriguing young players with varying level of intrigue, from Kalen Carson to Eric Scott to Deshaun Wright as well. Gilmore would give you the veteran presence, who it would be a different defense for Gilmore than what it was under Dan Quinn. That is worth mentioning. I think his high football IQ means he'd still fit in pretty well with what Mike Zimmer likes to do. He likes having intelligent football players on his roster. Gilmore certainly checks that box, although he is not the same player he was in his prime. I think we can acknowledge that he's lost a step, a half step, whatever. And I think that showed up mostly on crossers. Still a good football player. Still helps. So I would have interest in bringing him back, especially if the money actually ended up being right, which, who knows, for Dallas it often isn't. So would you re-sign Stephon Gilmore? Why for yes, you'd bring him back, and for no, it'll be the pinned comment on this video. So head down there and go vote. Why for yes, N for no. Some other corners who I want to make note of, Patrick Peterson did briefly overlap with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. I think you can kind of see the decline that has begun to set in for the most part. There a big uptick in production in 2022, but I think that was kind of a flash in the pan year. The underlying metrics maybe weren't quite as good. Also played some safety for Pittsburgh last season. Might make more sense to go be a vet mentor for a team that has more young pieces than maybe Dallas does. Xavien Howard has played a bunch of man previously, but again, you can see it in the numbers, right? The completion percentage goes up each year. The touchdowns allowed have been a little bit inconsistent. The interceptions have gone down. Pass breakups have gone down or stayed flat for the most part. I think also coming off an injury, somebody I feel like the Raiders need a starting corner, I think make more sense than Dallas. For both X and for Gilmore in particular, do they want to go somewhere where they'd be like cornerback 4 or have to fight for a job? I don't know. But at least worth calling them if you need more help. And especially consider this list a great list of names of the break-in case of emergency list of, oh, God, someone got hurt in camp. Always something to keep an eye out for. Every good GM has a nice long list of players they're going to call if that happens. Aodree Jackson, I don't hate as a football player. Now, the ball skills never quite became what I thought they were going to be. He's also been a pretty consistent banged-up football player. I think there is some outside flexibility. If he were willing to be a number 4 corner, I don't know if that's something he wants to do. It's kind of how some of the older guys get phased out sometimes. I think he'd be a good fit in Dallas. Got to mention some running backs. The problem is there aren't any good ones left. Like Kareem Hunt, it was terrible last year. Cam Akers is young, but he was bad for the Rams and Vikings. 60 carries is not a large sample size. It's not an insignificant sample size either, and he averaged under 3 yards per carry. And at his best, he was, 4.3. That's not particularly impactful as far as I'm concerned. The area I think you're most in need of help is some athletic juice. And Jerick McKinnon, who does know Mike Zimmer from their time together in Minnesota, by the way, stands out to me as a potential pass-catching option. Now, he didn't do that much last year for KC, and at his age, you got to wonder if there's really anything else left in the tank. I think what Dallas would prefer is the Jerick McKinnon role, hypothetically, would be filled by Deuce Vaughn. Now, if Vaughn struggles in camp, he's bad in the preseason in particular, maybe you reconsider. I'd rather work the trade market. To be quite honest, I think you kind of miss the window to add a back in free agency. Maybe that changes come cut down time, but the options just, these guys even better than Zeke? I kind of don't think so. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. With PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 with a single game watching your favorite sport this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. The finals mean more on PrizePicks. And so do the star players. You can get boosted payouts on select basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. We'll get to one of my picks featuring that here in a moment. But in general, I advise the flex play. The flex play means you can get 2 out of 3 right and still win, as opposed to the power play when you got to get them all right. So my NBA Finals prize picks for Game 1. Give me more than half a point for Jason Tatum. It's your free square. It's a no-brainer. Take it and then make your other picks. I'll go more than Kyrie Irving, 24 points. I'm feeling revenge game against Boston. And I do love the value on Jason Tatum, more than 5.5 assists. He's got that pretty consistently in this playoff stretch. I feel pretty good about that one happening as well, even though I have Dallas winning Game 1 because I'm a believer. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 when you download the app today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Linval Joseph, one of the many defensive linemen we'll discuss here on today's show, has some ties to Mike Zimmer from their previous time together in Minnesota. The production is not eye-popping. The tackles have plummeted. The game plays have dropped off. That's fine, though. I don't need prime Linval Joseph. I need someone to come in here and basically be the old innings eater. That's what I need. I don't need an ace at defensive tackle right now. What I need is a number 5 starter. This is not how the game's played anymore, but still, I think it still applies. It gives me 6.5 innings or whatever and a quality start and doesn't get rocked for 7. And I trust everyone else to kind of help out along the way in the bullpen to get there. That's why, because I need bodies. It's Oso Digizua, Mozzie Smith, maybe Chauncey Golston, maybe Justin Rogers. That's it. You're an injury to Osa away from being the worst defensive tackle room by a massive margin. You got to get some help in there. I think Calais Campbell fits that mold too, by the way. Now, he can do some defensive end stuff as well, which I think makes him maybe more appealing to Mike Zimmer. I'd play him more at defensive tackle. Zim likes bigger bodies. Campbell's a unique archetype with really big frame and can add more mass if needed, and still play pretty well despite being super old. That's noteworthy to me. Lawrence Guy was a Bill Belichick favorite in New England for several years. His numbers have, again, the decline is kind of like, yeah, you can see it on there, right? The tackles alone have declined a little bit, especially from a per-game perspective. But he's a good football player. At least he was. Maybe he's not the same guy anymore, but my options are limited because it's June, and Dallas signed 0 players to help out along the defensive line and lost two key cogs. What are you going to do? I would argue that maybe alongside Remark, even ahead of back in the backfield, defensive tackle, I don't like where they're at. What position do you think the Cowboys need the most help at? Sound off for me in the comments. I'll mention some safeties here. It's because they're good football players, and I think adding good players makes sense. Safety's not a need for Dallas, but Justin Simmons is a really good football player who's a high football IQ guy. That's how he's been able to survive despite not being a freakazoid athlete. Consistently makes plays on the football, gives them another free safety option to either pair, replace, whatever, with Malik Hooker. This is, I think, like the best free agent left, so I'm going to mention him. But do I think it's likely? No. I'd actually be pretty surprised if they added Simmons, but I do want to mention him. Because I am required from the, maybe I'll get to bust out the video meme again of Jamal Adams of the Cowboys. Injuries have taken a toll on him. He's not the same guy he was at his prime. I think you can certainly acknowledge that. At this point, I think he's almost a linebacker. And maybe that's the best spot for him because, frankly, it's a bad linebacker market. It's not good with who's out there. We're talking like Shaquille Leonard and Anthony Barr, like top 5 options at linebacker. It's just not good, frankly. The issue here is if I wanted a safety turn linebacker, I have those guys on the roster already. His name is Marquise Bell. I can just do that again. Maybe Quandre Diggs shouldn't be slept on. I think he got a little bit more flack than he should have for how things went down in Seattle last year, but his play had declined a little bit as well. I think there is even some kind of overhang nickel corner value if you need that to be a role as well. Little surprise, there's been the safety market a couple years in a row now, or at least maybe every other year or several of the last few years, hasn't moved very well. It's interesting to me. Diggs is a Texas guy. He would be at like the very top of my list. I think he's more affordable than Simmons if, knock on wood, something happened to one of your key safeties. So name a free agent who you want to sign. Drop that player name for me in the comments section right now. I suspect I'll see some Hunter Renfrow, so I will include him on here. At a certain point, we might have to acknowledge the 2021 campaign was an outlier year because that's kind of what it looks like right now for Renfrow. I might blame the offense in Vegas first. That's fine. But I'm a little surprised no one's picked him up if it wasn't just an outlier year. He's also a pure slot receiver, and I don't know if that fits with what Dallas needs at the moment. Dark horse name here is, how about Corey Davis? Like, are you retired, Tom? Yes, he did unretire, though. And there's been nary a peep about him since then. So he fits some of what Dallas doesn't have if he's in shape, if he hasn't lost too many steps due to a pretty long list of injuries there. You're not going to get 2021 version. He wasn't that bad when he retired, though. The contract was outsized. You brought Martavis Bryant in after a 3-year-long NFL absence. Why not give Corey Davis a shot? Speaking of injuries, Michael Thomas, that 2019 campaign was awesome. Just slant boys left and right. And it's not an insult. If you just, it's no different than hopefully college football 25 for me. Stop my play. You can't stop the slant, I'm going to keep calling the slant. If it ain't broke, why call something different? The problem is Michael Thomas then got kind of broken. Barely played football the past 4 years, frankly. He missed an entire season. He has lost a step. Yes, he's big, but I don't need another big. I need speedy guys. He's going to be on the list, I know, of who do you want to sign. So I want to mention him. I don't think he's a good asset investment at this time, though. Now, if the Cowboys make a signing, we'll have a free agent or we'll have a breakdown video for you. News happens. We got you covered. Hopefully it's not during my golf tournament this upcoming weekend, but knowing how the Cowboys do business, they'll do it when I tee off immediately, and I literally won't see it for like 4 hours is what will happen. So if they make a video, though, we'll make producer Chris do it. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Not kidding, you're going to do it, by the way. Yannick Ngakoue. Look, if you're worried about Sam Williams, I get it. You want to give the young guys more pass rush value. If you hadn't signed Marshawn Nealon, I'd be pushing a lot harder for some of these guys. I think you're in okay shape. If you want a situational pass rusher, several names stand out to me. Ngakoue fell off last year in Chicago. Let him be a 25% snap guy and go after the quarterback. Also did play for Mike Zimmer, by the way. Carl Lawson didn't get to play much in a kind of strong Jets defensive edge room. When he's played, he's actually been pretty good, though. It's just, does he get consistent playing time? Emmanuel Ogbah, the last 2 years for Miami weren't as impactful. Although 2020, there was some, the underlying metrics were better than how he performed, but that's how it goes sometimes. Again, situational pass rusher, I have some interest. I want to mention a couple offensive linemen here. Connor Williams first up because he's a former Cowboy. Great run blocker. You added 3 offensive linemen in the draft. I think you're fine there. I genuinely don't know when he's going to be cleared to play football again. At some point he will be. But that knee injury, I think, was worse than what had been reported by the Dolphins. I think it was not just an ACL tear. I think it was a really, really bad tear. And he's still rehabbing. And it's June. At least that was the update as of May. He is going to need more time. Probably the same is true for DJ Humphries, who, hey, if he's healthy, he's better than Chuma Edoga. Low bar, I know. Could also put David Bakhtiari in this category as a not healthy offensive lineman. He had an ACL tear on New Year's Eve, so he's going to need more time, and that kind of doesn't align that great with Dallas, unfortunately. As for the linebacker market, it's just not good. I mentioned earlier. I wouldn't mind adding another player to help round out some depth, but I want to bring back Anthony Barr. I feel like that race has been run. Shaquille Leonard wasn't actually good in Philadelphia. It's until cut down time or more post June 1st cuts or something, not a great crop.